This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Good afternoon, Alyssa. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm good to be with you. I'm sitting on Dixon Street at the Dixon Street Bookstore, which is a cool little spot if you've never been over here. But we're gonna meet the women's basketball team staff for a lunch at JJ's. So looking forward to that.
The bookstore is one of my favorite places in the entire state of Arkansas. I like to just walk around and get lost there, and then just kind of play a game, randomly pick out whatever book I stop at, and if it's English, maybe read it.
Yeah, it's awesome, and you can get lost in here very easily. I like to get books, but their display right now is like old toys, and they've got this sorry game that they have in their display must be at least 50 years old. Really cool kind of stuff. You never know what you can find at this place.
Looks like your Dolphins are getting a little bit active in free agency. Shaquille Barrett is signing with them on a $9 million deal worth 1 year. And a linebacker in there. What else do the Dolphins need?
He's got a little speed on him. I like him, yeah.
Yeah, obviously I'm still kind of in mourning because I really wanted the Dolphins to keep Christian Wilkinson. So that was kind of tough, but I don't question Mike McDaniel. I know he's got a vision for the future, and so, I try not to get too high or too low. But I really think that they just need some defensive depth. That was the biggest thing, especially in the secondary last year when they had so many guys go down. The guys who stepped in played really well, but you need some depth there in that secondary. And so I think that they're going to go hard there. You would hope so in the draft and in free agency.
Hey, Alyssa, were you ever around Brandon Allen? He's an Arkansan that re-signed in there in San Francisco, I believe. But man, he's just had that I call it the Chase Daniels career.
Yeah, my first year here in 2013 was Brandon's first year as a starter, and so got to cover him in college. And then before he moved, I think his family relocated to Florida, but they lived in our neighborhood. So met him and his wife Sarah, and got to know them, and great people. And then obviously with Brandon, you just have to be really have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do. And being a backup in the NFL is not the easiest job, and you're going to bounce from place to place, and you've seen that, but he seems to have a home right now in San Francisco. But he just keeps his head down, and he grinds. And I remember when he was with the Bengals, he made a comment about, I'm here to help Joe Burrow grow and teach him and be whatever I need to be for him. And that's the attitude he's had in this league, and it's made him successful, and it's made a career out of it. And so you're happy to see that.
Let me ask you about backup at Arkansas. As we talk in spring ball about the supposed, QB1 battle, in which right now, it seems like Taylon Green is getting most of the snaps from everything I read. We've talked with Mike Irwin about it. Malachi Singleton's are there more? Is it more of a competition for QB2 than it is for QB1?
I think so. I don't want to discredit any of those guys because they're all working hard to earn that spot. But I think with the way that things are going, it's pretty much Taylon Green's job to lose. However, you look at that number 2 spot, and it's really intriguing. And I know Mike has said this to you guys because you said it yesterday on Ask Mike as well. But, what is the strategy there with Malachi Singleton and with Jacoby Criswell? We know that KJ Jackson is the future. They've said that. So he is over there just growing and developing, and he looks good as a true freshman. But these two guys, what does that look like? With Malachi being a redshirt freshman, what is his trajectory? And then really this is kind of a defining moment for Jacoby Criswell in his college career. And so I'm very interested to see what happens there. Whether, if you're a coach, for example, what is happening? This car is pulling onto the sidewalk. Okay.
It's Dixon Street.
It's Grand Theft Auto over here.
This is just typical Dixon.
I literally was like, this is not a road, but.
Is it 12:21 in the afternoon or the morning on Dixon Street right now?
I don't know. It's okay. It's fine. So it just got me distracted. But I really am just curious to see what this means for both of those guys' future because, are you maybe telling Malachi that he's got a little bit more of a future and we're getting more reps with the number 2s, and then that's making Jacoby Criswell have to make a big decision? I don't know. I'm very interested to see how that all plays out.
Hey, Alyssa, how are you this year? I know Coach Pittman said they're going to be more physical. They're going to have some more live action. They're going to hit and tackle a little more. Have you heard anything if the quarterbacks will be live when they're out there?
I don't. I feel like they're probably still going to have some green jerseys on to protect those guys. I don't know how much live tackling we're going to get with them outside of the spring game, but that's a really interesting thing to keep a note on. But you're seeing more 7-on-7. Like, that's all they did when Mike and I went on Thursday, is to continue to keep that development with those QBs and this new offense. And so you can definitely see a different plan with Sam Pittman and the way that this spring has gone compared to the springs in the past. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that because I'd be curious to see. That's always the hardest thing, is to really truly see what a guy can do when, you can't try to tackle him and he's not trying to, break tackles or make things happen or scramble and things like that. So.
And I kind of bring that up because for the second and third string, you're talking about for QB2, you want some live action tight. And I don't mean you hurt somebody, but they have to kind of see the bullets flying a little bit.
Exactly, and that's something that I think Jacoby Criswell has a little bit of an upper hand with because he has played more football, and so he can read things maybe better because of that experience. But then you also want to see, we really haven't seen what Malachi Singleton brings to the table. And so you really have to judge them on exactly what they would do in those real game time decisions, and that'll be interesting.
What's your view on Arkansas and Vanderbilt tomorrow? Can't lose to Vandy two times in a year because the second time's going to end your season for you, and you can forget about any NIT if anybody wants that.
Yeah, obviously Vandy has beat them 3 times in a row if you go back to last year. And it's one of those things where you used to be expected to beat Vandy because you did all the time. And then, despite the fact that Jerry Stackhouse has had some struggles with Vandy, he finds a way to beat you. And so how do you combat that? And they're playing really well down the stretch, and so you'd hope to see that. And if they can, play the way they did and almost beat Alabama, probably should have beaten Alabama, and that's another thing for another day. That team can beat Vandy. But they can't beat themselves. You can't have the lead that you did and let it go and let them beat you like you let them do at Bud Walton Arena last month. And so, they understand that if they want to keep playing basketball, they have to win. And hopefully that's motivation enough for them to continue to play the way that they've played and not resort to all of those bad habits we've seen all year.
All right, I know you're going to visit with the women's coaching staff here, and it's been a little less than a week since their one game in the SEC tournament. And Sunday coming up, they're not going to get a bed to the NCAA. There are 2 other tournaments. I wonder what's going on right now, with the program. I know the coaches are really out recruiting and right at this moment trying to get everybody healthy and rested, but it is kind of a very interesting sort of like interlude between the end of the conference tournament and a potential bid to some postseason tournament.
Yeah, you're juggling all of that, juggling what this team is going to look like, could look like next year. Also, who can you keep, who can you go get, and we know that that's a lot harder these days with NIL and the transfer portal, and you just don't know what's going to happen. Things are going to blindside you, just like Jersey Wolfenbarger did at the beginning of the season. But then you also have to be like, look, we still have more basketball we can play, and hopefully we can find some success. I am so intrigued by this WBIT that the NCAA has created. And then you still have the WNIT, which is completely separate in its own right, in a private tournament that will continue to bring it. So I'm curious to see where their path leads, at which one, but we know they're going to play one, so we know we have more basketball left. But if you're them, you just want to end the season on, have a good taste in your mouth because you've lost 5 straight now. So how do you bounce back from that? Having this break, getting rested, getting healthier, not fully healthy, but healthier, and then what does that next season look like? And I think the biggest question all of us have with the rest of the season, with next year, is Talia Scott and what the future for Talia Scott looks like.
Yeah, in which, it's everything. There's been no details whatsoever. And I don't know if there will be any. It's just that has been one of the more mysterious situations that I've seen with any of the programs that I've been a part of.
Yeah, it's interesting, because, again, you don't want to jump to conclusions. You don't want to point fingers or just assume things. But you always, there are 2 ways to go. Something it's serious and she's at home with her family and she'll be back. Is it NIL, transfer portal related? I mean, there are so many things that are circling out there that you really don't even know which direction you want to turn. But you also have questions about, well, okay, could she have been with the team through this run, and been there on the bench for support? Or, is there something else, again, that we're not knowing about and learning about and that maybe will come out in the years to come? You hate it because your brain, as human nature, goes 100 different directions in 100 different ways, good or bad. And that's almost worse than the reality, right?
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.